Listen up, Rangers. Welcome to the Geek Chest. My name's Steve, and Arnez isn't here today. He's actually been sick all week, so if you guys could send him some good vibes in the comment section below, really would appreciate it. And we're also not going to have a movie review up for you guys today, since he's not here, and I didn't really want to do one all by myself. So to make up for this, I'm going to go over what I consider the top 5 scariest Godzilla monsters of all time. Pretty much for the criteria for this list, the monster either has to be scary looking, or could easily be transitioned into a B-rated horror movie. It's like something that you would see on the Sci-Fi Channel. So the monster might not be technically super scary looking, but if you could easily transition over into a different genre of films, then he's going to be on this list. But anyways, to get into this list, my number 5, which is Kumonga. Or you might also know Spiga from Son of Godzilla and Destroy All Monsters, and also makes an appearance in Godzilla's Revenge. This kaiju is the one that could easily transition over into other monster movies, such as pretty much anything with giant spiders. Like a film kind of like Eight-Legged Freaks could really use a monster like Kumonga, because it's a giant terrifying looking spider. Spiders are already scary enough as it is. It shoots silk from the front of its mouth, so actually it can reach out and get its prey. Also has like this needle thing that comes out and jabs. You can drink the blood of its victims. Freaking terrifying. I remember when he first showed up when I was watching this film when I was a lot younger, watching Son of Godzilla, where he just kind of comes out of that underground cave thing and ends up taking out a giant mantis in the process, almost takes out Minya, stabs Godzilla in the eye. Like, the monster is freaking scary. And to me, he just seems like a very easy monster just to transition into other films, kind of like some other Godzilla movie monsters like Kamacuras or even Mothra, which essentially just be like if you needed a giant moth or prey masters, giant insects in general. But Kumonga is just the one that even the suit was a little bit scary looking at the time, and just really was unsettling as a kid. And then next, moving on to my number 4, we're going with Hedorah, the Smog Monster, which is essentially just the blob with eyes. Which, we already know, the blob is a terrifying monster, as we saw in 2 older iterations of the character, and also could easily be moved into a more sci-fi genre, where you essentially just really need to kind of keep the premise of the guy anyways, where it's pretty much an alien from space, contaminates garbage, garbage comes to life, garbage starts eating people, and then the protagonist would have to figure out some way of dealing with the creature. And my reason scary is 1, blob's scary, so of course Hedorah is going to be scary. 2, pollution's also terrifying children, don't pollute. And 3, if you put like the blob and then you gave it like eyes so it could look at you while it's dissolving you, you know how terrifying that would be watching that movie? It's just like more going over your legs. You're just like, yo, and he's just staring into your soul. And he's just one of the other monsters that just pretty much has tried and true tropes in other horror movies. So again, very easily transitioned into a more sci-fi film. And also, even in his film, like, he dissolves people into skeletons. Like, you know, like this monster was probably the only one that actually legitly scared me as a kid watching Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster. Mainly because of that scene, it just seems pretty unsettling looking in appearance as well. Even when you had like Godzilla in the pit and he's like pooping sludge all over top of him. And just the way he defeats him, where he's like punching into him, ripping out those egg sacs. It's kind of like Temple of Doom, where it's just like dun 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 dun. He has to electrocute him in order to destroy him. And it was just very unsettling watching that as a kid, because even though it wasn't violent per se, it looks super violent, like he's just ripping out chunks and everything. It was just very unsettling watching this as a child, which, especially when Godzilla's going more towards child-friendly content at the time, it was a weird way to go with it. Next, moving on to number 3, Biollante. Which, for the monster, in terms of being number 3, it's definitely what I would consider out of the entire list to be the least scary-looking kaiju of all of them, because I personally, Biollante is my favorite Godzilla monster, and I think she just looks freaking adorable. But essentially, just a giant plant monster. Fits into a lot of things, especially if you guys ever seen the film Deep Rising, where essentially the premise of the movie is there's a monster that takes over a cruise ship and then has sent its tentacles throughout the course of the ship, starts devouring people, and people think that's the monster. But come to find out, after making their way to the center of the ship trying to escape, there is an even larger, bigger mass that they have to contend with. Which essentially, you just replace that with Biollante, you got your horror movie. Because in her film, there's that scene where they're in the lab and they're having the shootout and whatnot, and her vines actually start taking out some of the villains. That was actually a pretty scary scene, especially when I watched that when I was younger. And you don't get too many horror tropes in Godzilla films. It's really cool that they kind of introduced that in with Biollante, like they done previously, like with Godzilla in 1985, and some of the other ones having a little bit more horror modes, just like the smog monster we went over. But it was really cool to see it kind of in that sense, because that's something definitely that I more relate to the Sci-Fi Channel and stuff nowadays than I actually do with these kind of films. And then next, for our number 2 scariest kaiju of all time, we have the Monster Destroyer. Which I know some people were like, Destroyer's not super scary. Have you seen this thing? It is essentially the devil in a Godzilla movie. I know it's essentially a crustacean, but still, look at this thing. It's big, red, has creepy horns, looks scary. Kind of doesn't look like it should even be in a Godzilla movie, but I still appreciate that it was in a Godzilla movie because this monster's freaking amazing. And essentially, this monster could fit into anything relating to hell. Like, if you just need a big bouncer monster that needs to severing limbs off of its unsuspecting victims, then this monster would be a perfect fit for this. And even in the film, where you have, like, the smaller crustaceans, the larva, I guess I'm going to call them the larva form right now. I forget the official forms, because I know the aggregate form came later, and then you had the flying form. Because even in the film, you have that scene where the Special Defense Force goes in to try to take out the little destroyers, and the destroyers fight back, kill some people. And you even have that scene, too, where the destroyer is attacking the girl inside of the car, ripping off the doors and whatnot. That was actually a legitimately suspenseful scene, and you get that out of a giant monster movie. And another thing to point out, too, about Destroyer is he kills children. And by children, I mean Godzilla Jr., where he ends up taking him out towards the end of the film, and that is the only monster to ever be able to accomplish that. Which is saying something for this giant, scary crustacean here. And my number 1 scariest Godzilla kaiju of all time, we have the Millennium Series Gigan. Which, I am not trolling. I would say this guy is definitely scariest Godzilla monster ever. Even though in the film, he gets taken out super easy. But going by my criterias, he would be number 1 on the list. Because 1, essentially trying to bring him into the horror movie genre, he would work in anything that just involves aliens or robots, or if you just want something a little bit different for your slasher movie, because this guy has hook hands, you can swap these out for chainsaws, he has a chainsaw on his belly, claws freaking everywhere, like even look at his one giant menacing red eye, freaking terrifying, and he'd work in most any kind of space horror movie, just sort of like Jason X, except better, because Gigan would be sweet. So in terms of aesthetics, he'd definitely be the easiest one to transfer over into B-rated horror movies over any of the other Godzilla monsters, in my opinion. Granted, there's not really too much I can really pull out from his films to actually make him scary. I guess you could say for the Showa Gigan, where he actually makes monsters bleed. Well, this guy was pretty much a pushover, in my opinion, even though he had a cool little fight with Mothra, but overall he still gets taken out pretty easily. But in terms of this aesthetics, he's pretty much a slasher movie all summed up into one monster. And that's it for my top 5, and hopefully we will be putting out a monster movie review sometime in the near future once Arnez starts feeling better, gets over here, get that out to you guys as soon as possible. But what did you think of this list, Saba?
Oh, that was most impressive.
I know. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think is the most terrifying Godzilla monster? Please let me know in the comments section below. And as always, help us defeat those kaijus by hitting that like button, subscribe, become a Ranger today, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.